They wanted our planet. They got our wrath. They came from the cold between stars, their ships darkening our skies like funeral shrouds. They did not hail us. They did not negotiate. They issued a single decree from orbital superiority. Surrender this world. You are now a client species of the Galactic Compact. Resistance is illogical. You are outmatched. They thought we were primitive. They thought we would kneel. They thought wrong. We are humanity, and Earth is not a resource to be mined. It is a fortress, and we are its wrath. Their first strike was a demonstration, a single lance of plasma from the mothership, a vessel they called the Judgment, carved a molten canyon across 300 miles of empty tundra. This is the scale of our power. Their voice, cold and synthetic, echoed through every frequency. Your military infrastructure will be erased in one orbital cycle if you do not comply. Our world leaders, those who remained, spoke with one voice. It was not the voice of surrender. It was a transmission on every open channel, a howl of defiance from every surviving radio tower. You want a fight? Come down and take it. They obliged. They came in dropships, sleek and terrifying, descending on our capitals, our industrial centers. They expected panic. They expected broken formations. They expected to walk through us. The Galactics were tall, elegant in their armored carapaces, moving with a fluid, arrogant grace. Their energy weapons vaporized steel. Their personal shields shrugged off tank shells. For the first 24 hours, the news feeds were a horror show. London Bridge was a smoking ruin. The Champs-Élysées was a kill zone. They marched untouchable, and we died in waves. They miscalculated. They thought breaking our cities would break our will. They did not understand that for every city, we have 1,000 villages. For every capital, 1,000,000 hearts filled with fire. They attacked our home, and in doing so, they unified every tribe, every nation, every bitter enemy on the face of the globe. The war they planned for was against armies. The war they got was against the very soil. We learned. Oh, how we learned. A sergeant in the ruins of Kiev noticed their shields flicker for a nanosecond when they fired their main weapon. A message, coded and frantic, spread through the digital underground. Hit them in rhythm, between pulses. They're not invincible. In the Texas desert, a militia used old railroad tracks as makeshift magnetic accelerators, firing hypersonic rebar that pierced a dropship's hull before its point defense could track. The Galactics recoiled. These were not the tactics of a client species. Then came the adaptation. We stopped fighting their war. We dragged them into ours. They held the sky, but we owned the dark. Their sensors could track a missile launch from a continent away, but they could not track a man with a shovel. They could not track the sewers of Paris flooding with homemade thermite charges. They could not track the silence of the Siberian taiga, where partisan teams used Cold War-era dead-drop protocols to coordinate. In the Appalachian Mountains, a Galactic patrol vanished. They found them 3 days later, not killed by weapons, but by 1,000 tiny, poisoned needles fired from improvised air rifles. The trees themselves seemed to spit death. In the Amazon, their dropships sank into bogs that maps said was solid ground, only to be set upon by tribes wielding monofilament nets and curare-tipped spears. The aliens' arrogance began to curdle into confusion, then into a dawning, icy fear. The turning point was Operation Ghost Dance. We let them take NORAD's old Cheyenne mountain complex. We let them believe they had captured a central command node. It was a tomb, and we were the undertakers. As their command personnel flooded into the deep bunkers, analyzing our abandoned systems, they triggered the failsafes we'd built but never dared use. We didn't nuke the mountain. We did something worse. We sealed it. 300,000 tons of explosives, strategically placed along fault lines, not to destroy, but to entomb. We buried 2,000 of their best tactical minds and their flagship planetary command under a mile of solid rock. Their orbital scans showed the mountains simply settling. No radiation, no plasma signature, just silence. That was the moment their arrogance shattered. That was the moment they realized this was not a war of occupation, it was a war of extermination, and they were the prey. The judgment above us shuddered with new purpose. No more demonstrations, no more client species. It began to power its primary planet-cracker weapon, a slow, humming resonance built in the bones of the world. They would scourge the earth, purge the infestation, and mine the corpse. They had decided we were not worth the price. They had made a second, fatal miscalculation. They thought we only fought on the ground. Hidden in the blind spots of their high-orbit sensors, in the debris fields of our own shattered satellites, were the vengeance and the oblivion. Not ships, not in any sense they would recognize. They were scaffolds, steel skeletons built in the secret shipyards of the lunar far side, powered by stripped-down fusion cores and guided by the collective will of every surviving astronaut, engineer, and mad genius we had left. They had no shields. They had no elegant weapons. They were kinetic kill vehicles wrapped around a heart of tungsten and hatred. As the Judgment's planet killer glowed, charging for the final burn, we gave the order. Not from a clean room. From a bunker in Geneva, its roof half collapsed. The command was a single word, whispered by a general with one eye and a hand wrapped in blood-stained bandages. Fall! The vengeance and the oblivion ignited their crude engines. They did not fly. They fell. Like twin daggers thrown from the hand of God, they accelerated on a collision course with the Judgment. Point defense lasers lanced out, slicing the oblivion into molten chunks. But the largest piece, 100,000-ton spear of solid metal, kept going. The Vengeance took a hit that vaporized its engines, but its momentum was already absolute, already fatal. The Galians on the bridge had just enough time to see their sensors scream. They had just enough time to understand. These primitives, they didn't even try to board. They didn't try to disable. They used their own ships as bullets. The Judgment's shields flared once, a brilliant bubble of defiance against the darkness, and then collapsed under the sheer, stupid, brutal mass of our wrath. The Vengeance struck its primary reactor. The Oblivion's remains tore through its spine. In the silent vacuum, the explosion was a new, brief sun, a funeral pyre for galactic arrogance. On the ground, the change was instantaneous. The remaining Galian troops, their neural links to the mothership screaming into static, froze. Their discipline, which was predicated on orbital support and certain victory, evaporated. It was replaced by something we knew intimately: terror. The terror of being stranded, the terror of being surrounded, the terror of a sky that is no longer friendly. We did not offer them surrender. We did not offer them terms. They had come for our world. They had made it a charnel house. Now they would learn its every dark corner. The message went out not from any government, but from the bloodied, soot-stained fighters in the field. A simple, ugly, universal truth passed from soldier to partisan, from sniper to saboteur. No prisoners. The cleansing took weeks. It was not a military campaign, it was a hunt. Their technology failed, choked by our engineered EMP bursts and viral data scramblers uploaded into their networks during the first hours of the invasion. Their energy weapons ran dry, their shields became dead weight. And we had knives, we had axes, we had the crumbling concrete and the rusted rebar of our broken cities. We had the relentless, grinding hatred of a species pushed to the absolute edge. The last stand of the Galian ground forces was in the salt flats of Bolivia. They made a fortress of their last functional dropship. We surrounded them not with tanks, but with silence. For 3 days we watched. We let the sun bake their carapaces. We let the silence gnaw at their minds. On the fourth night, when they tried to make a break for it, we didn't fire a shot. We had buried the flats with pit traps and spikes. Their elegant, desperate run became a stumbling, screaming crawl. By dawn, it was over. We gathered their technology, we studied their corpses, we learned the coordinates of their homeworld from shattered navigation cores. We built, not in triumph, but in grim, silent purpose. We built from the ashes of our cities and the bones of their ships. We built a new fleet, not to explore, not to greet the galaxy, to deliver a message. A year to the day after the judgment fell, a single human vessel, sleek and deadly, and born of alien tech and human fury, translated into the space above Galia Prime. It did not hail them, it did not negotiate, it broadcast a simple video feed back to their planetary network. It showed the ruins of Paris, the ashes of New York, the mass graves outside Shanghai. It showed a human child, staring with old eyes at a sky once full of invaders. Then it showed the surface of their own beautiful blue-green world, painted with 100 targeting lasers from ships they never detected, hidden in their asteroid belt. Our transmission was a mirror of their own, their cold synthetic voice replaced by a human one, ragged and final. You came for our world. You have forfeited yours. Surrender your leadership for trial, dismantle your fleet, and submit to human oversight. Resistance is illogical. You are outmatched. They pleaded, they begged, they cited galactic conventions, they called us monsters. We listened. And then we fired a single kinetic strike, a tungsten rod the size of a school bus, onto the landing field of their imperial palace. It was not to destroy the palace. It was to demonstrate the range, the precision, the will. The rod struck with the sound of God's own hammer. The crater was perfect. The message was perfect. They surrendered. Not to a more advanced civilization, to a more relentless one. We do not rule them with kindness. We rule them with the memory of our wrath. Our ambassadors carry sidearms. Our inspectors have cold eyes. Our border is a wall of silent warships, each named for a city we lost. They look at us now, and they do not see primitives. They see the ghosts of their own folly. They see the species that used its own tomb as a trap, that turned its funeral pyre into a weapon, that will forever look at the stars not with wonder, but with a promise. Come in peace and you will find us brothers. Come in war and you will find only earth and blood. They wanted our planet, they got our wrath, and the galaxy will forever remember the price of threatening humanity's home.